join me as we light the chalice in your order of service. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our trust in truth and meaning,
in celebration of the life we share together.
As the chalice is lit and as we begin to draw our hearts in together, use this time to silence your spirit, silence your heart, and prepare yourself for this service. Thank you.
Good morning. Let's give a hand. That was lovely. Thank you, John. That was just beautiful. We could play that every morning. It would be fine with me. Morning, I'm Rosemary Staples. I'm a member of UU. I have been here for about 2 years. That's all, and you can get behind the microphone. You don't have to be an old timer to be involved here. So we'd like to welcome any newcomers or maybe second-time guests. Anybody on this side of the room who would like to introduce themselves and tell us where you're from, because probably somebody has been there or is from there. Anybody on that side? How about in the middle? How about over there, to the right? Any first or second timers? Yes, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Joanne, Corning, New York.
Your name again?
I'm Joanne from Corning, New York.
Oh, from New York. Okay, welcome. Thank you. Yes, someone else?
Jim and Karen from Warwick, New York.
Oh, okay. So y'all come together? Just, you happen to be sitting next to each other. Well, welcome. And
Friends that have been active in the church for periods of 4 or 5 months are here with us today. Betty and Dan. They're also from New York. You guys stand up.
Welcome, and all of y'all please join the coffee and refreshments afterwards, and we'll get to know you, and then we'll have a talk back after the service, and you can get to know us even further. So it's a lot of fun we have here. The announcements I have are 4 announcements. The first one is we're really lucky because this week, tomorrow, January 20th, is the only day it's not supposed to rain, and that's when we're having the Martin Luther King Parade. It'll be at 9 o'clock. If you'll meet at Hilton Head Island High School on Hilton Head Island, You can't help but see a big parade assembling, and you'll see us with our UU banner. Raise your hand if you've been to the parade before. They're really a lot of fun. See? Look, you kids, you're not going to be in school, so please join us in the parade. There are also some other MLK events going on throughout the week, and there are still some flyers, or you can look online to find out more about them.
Starts at 10, Rosemary. March starts at 10. 10.
Oh, we don't need,
We gather about 9:30, quarter up. It's gonna be cold.
gather about 9:30, all
Quarter
right.
up,
Yes, it's going to be in the 30s, so dress warm. But it will be dry, and there will be, the snow doesn't come until Tuesday. Number 2, the next 2 Saturdays, UU will be continuing their directional meetings about where we want to go with the community and in our own spiritual life. That will be Saturday, January 25th and February 1st, the next 2 Saturdays. We had one yesterday, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of great ideas. So please join to help determine the direction of UU. 3, you heard the music. I'll give you, tell you where to be and at what time. It will be Saturday night, January 25th, 7 p.m. is when they start playing, but the doors open at 6:30, and the charge is $25. Cash, right? No,
Or check.
or cash or check, no credit cards, okay.
Or credit card. Yes, credit
Yes,
card.
credit cards. Any form. Any form. Okay. And the 4th, I can't read.
Welcome to my world.
The 4th, and I can't read my handwriting, but there was something, number 4, don't remember. But the 4th part, the 5th, actually there were 5, and our wizard of finances, Patricia Friedman, is coming up, and she's going to tell us about a special event.
Well done.
Good morning. I'm from Syracuse, so I couldn't help myself when I heard all the other upstate New York people or New York people. Welcome. As the chair of the Finance Committee, I wanted to let everyone know in advance what we're going to be doing next week for a special collection. I know many of you have watched with distress and sadness with the LA fires, and we're going to take up a special collection for that very purpose to support them. And it's going to be on Sunday, January 26th, and we will donate our plate collection to the UUA Disaster Fund. This fund receives donations from congregations who want to support other UU congregations when they are right in the middle of a disaster and they need that help. The disaster fund is really part of a covenant that we have between UUA and the individual congregations. Through aiding our congregations, their members and their community partners are able to embody our faith and values. They actually make sure that the funds are going directly to UU congregations in the area affected, which is very important. And we, as a congregation, a single congregation, can be satisfied to know that it's going directly to that. Now, I'm going to talk now as a finance chair, just really quickly. This will be all repeated in our newsletter, so you can read it. But basically, so we don't have a lot of chaos when we have the plate collection, mostly for our finance team when we're trying to, figure out who gave what for what. All the cash donations will automatically go to the Disaster Relief Fund unless they are designated in an envelope for another purpose. All checks donations for the Disaster Relief Fund must be payable to UUCL, along with the notation disaster relief fund. Then we know that it's not for some other reason like your pledge. As per UUA instructions, we will tally the designated checks along with the designated cash and send one check to the disaster relief fund at UUA. So thank you for listening to me about all these details. It's for a very good cause, and I appreciate your generosity in advance, and I know the people in LA will too. Thank you.
Anything that we've neglected? Let's begin to draw our spirits together. Our theme this month has been on the subject of story. One among you was talking with me earlier about how important music was to her and the stories that's contained in there. She confessed, like I do, that I'm more inclined towards classic vinyl. The music stopped after 1973 as far as I was concerned. Nonetheless, I still found joy in some of that. And we gathered together to tell those stories and hear those words, and that's what's significant and valuable about who we are and what we're about. The subject of story goes deep, and I want to try and unpack some of it on a very broad basis later on in the message that I wish to bring. But I'm also drawn to Brene Brown's quote, when she writes, "When we deny our stories and disengage from difficult emotions, they don't go away. Instead, they own us. They define us. Our job is not to deny the story, but to defy the ending, to rise strong, recognize our story, and rumble with the truth until we get a place where we think, yeah, this is what happened. This is my truth, and I will choose how the story ends." Amen? Amen. If you would please take your hymnals in your hands, turn with me, if you will, to hymn number 38. May we stand and sing together. Morning is broken. Sad I was at the age of 19 to discover the cat Stevens did not write that.
This is the time in our service when we do two things. We try to put together packages of food to support the Sandalwood Food Pantry or the Bluffton Self-Help. If you've brought anything and haven't done it yet, please put it on the table in the back. I need to remember that our contribution is in the back of my car instead of bringing it in. So somebody remind me of that before when the service is over. The second thing we're doing is just sustaining what it is that we're all about and keeping the lights on and the heat on, particularly this week. As you know, it's going to be very chilly outside, so we will be paying a larger utility bill. So if you can contribute to that by contributing as we usually do each week, please do so. So now it's time to take our offering. Thank you for your generosity.
And now we'll read affirmation 614, and let's try this responsibly. We don't normally do that, but I think we can handle it. 614.
Do this first, that's fine.
We'll do this before joys and concerns. Sorry. Then I was standing on the highest mountain of them all, and around me was the whole of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell. And I understood more than I saw. For I was seeing in the sacred manner the shape of all things of the Spirit. And the shapes as they must live together like one being. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that make one circle, wide as daylight and starlight. And in the center grew one mighty flowery tree. Thank you.
There's more.
There's more? Oh dear. I lost it.
Take your time. Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently I can't do it.
You can do it.
Thank you. Oh. That's because we're UUs. We're adaptable. And now we'll have our joys and concerns. This is a time of sharing among our community, and it helps build us as a community. We share our joys and concerns with each other, and in doing so, we share the joy and the concern, and we offer support. If you'll come forward and take a stone from the basket, give us your name and share your joy or concern, and then put the stone in the cairn.
Oh, I think I've got it.
Okay, I'm not in charge this
No,
time.
you're not in charge.
I have a particular joy. Does that sound like it's in tune? My wife Betsy turned 80 yesterday. So, in honor of her, I hope you can join me in singing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Betsy. Happy birthday to you.
And she doesn't look a day over 80.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Zeiser. I have a joy.
Closer.
I have a joy, and that being my granddaughter, one of my first grandchildren of 6, is getting married, and her shower is next week. So I will be off to Suwanee, Georgia, and I will miss the service next week. So that's a sadness for me. But anyway, I'm so joyful that life goes on. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Dick. I preached last Sunday, and I have a joy. Talkback, 51 people came to Talkback. I counted them, so I'm pretty sure that's accurate. But my joy is how many of that 51 shared their life story about how they happened to end up sitting in a chair at UUCL on a Sunday morning. And the variety of those experiences really helps reinforce the idea that we are a very diverse group of people in many, many respects. And quite frankly, I took it personally that so many people were willing to share their stories. So thank you all.
Hi, I'm Linda. Thank you. And I actually have 2 joys. I haven't been here for a couple weeks. My one daughter decided to come in after New Year because we weren't able to go home for Christmas. And when she made the flight arrangements, my other daughter in Macon said, "Oh, well, we'll run out too." So she came, my granddaughter came, my daughter came from Pittsburgh, and they threw a surprise party for my husband for his 83rd birthday, and he was so thrilled. He talked about it for an entire week. He said it was one of the nicest birthdays he's ever had. He did make exception for the 70th birthday when I threw a shebang for him. And the other joy I have is we have finally gotten an oxygen concentrator, so I will not have to be carrying those tanks all around the house anymore. So I'm very happy for that too. So thank you.
So Saturday, while we were here at the strategic planning time, I received a text from my daughter that her daughter, my granddaughter, Pepper, was competing in her first ever diving contest. She'd been taking lessons for some time now, and I was stunned that that shy little girl was going to stand up on a board and jump into a pool of water, and then equally stunned when later I received a screenshot of the top 3 competitors. Wow. And number 1 was Pepper.
Chip off the old block.
Yeah. Fell in the water all the time.
Steve and I went to Clearwater this week to see my son who was working down there. We figured we'd get a little in between, you know, like meals and a few things like that. And he pulls up to the airport to pick us up, and our granddaughter is with him. So we had a wonderful week with them.
Oh, nice.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Diana. Thank you for your prayers and your concerns and reaching out. A lot of people reached out to me to tell me that they heard about my brother-in-law passing and my needing to get up to Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania, to be with my sister. Yeah, so I had some quality time with my sister, and you know how that is after a spouse has passed. You get those waves. She's fine, and then she's not, and then she's fine, and then she's not. So I just felt honored to be a part of her process of grief. So she said, if anybody understands, it's you, Diana. Losing my past 2 husbands. It's like, join the Widow Club. It's a club we don't want to be a member of. But anyway, I just felt a lot of support from here, and I really, really appreciate it a lot. And I feel bad, I'm missing next week, because the funeral and everything is next weekend. So I'm going to miss again. So anyway, I love all of you. I miss all of you when I'm not here. This is really important to me. And so I have sadness and concern, and certainly a lot of joy and gratitude. Thank you.
And I will now take 2 stones for those joys and concerns that remain in your heart. And I will also take a stone that I will place in the tall columnar jar. The vase. For the children who have been affected and possibly killed by gun violence. Thank you. And we already read the affirmation, so we'll move right along.
Thank you, Cheryl. It delights me to see the way the congregation takes care of each other. And appreciate that. It's a meaningful time. So I've been asked to speak on this day as our theme is story. And so I want to begin quoting from Bill Bryson's book, A Short History of Practically Everything. If you don't have that book in your library, please do so. It's wise and wonderful. It's about 10 years old. A few bits of it might be a touch out of date, but for the most part, Mr. Bryson hits it on the nail. He says, "Welcome and congratulations. I'm delighted that you could make it. Getting here wasn't easy, I know. In fact, I suspect that it was a little tougher than you realize. To begin with, for you to be here now, trillions of drifting atoms had somehow to assemble in an intricate and an intriguingly obliging manner to create you. It's an arrangement so specialized and particular that it has never been tried before and will only exist this once. For the next many years, we hope, the tiny particles will uncomplainingly engage in all the billions of deft, cooperative efforts necessary to keep you intact and let you experience the supremely agreeable but generally unaccepted, unappreciated state known as existence. Why atoms take this trouble is a bit of a puzzle. Being you is not a gratifying experience to the atomic level. For all their devoted attention, your atoms don't actually care about you indeed. And also, they don't even know that they are there. They don't even know that you are there. They are mindless particles, after all, not even themselves alive." And Mr. Bryson goes on to paint a word picture that just delights me every time I think of it. He says it's a slightly arresting notion that if you were to pick yourself apart with tweezers, one atom at a time, you would produce a mound of fine atomic dust, none of which has ever been alive, but all of which had once been you. Yet somehow, for the period of your existence, they will answer to a single overarching impulse to keep you, you. The bad news is that atoms are fickle, and their time of devotion is fleeting, fleeting indeed. Even a long human life adds up to only about 650,000 hours. That's a horrible thought to me, but there it is. And when the modest milestone flashes past, or at some other point thereabouts, for reasons unknown, your atoms will shut you down, silently disassemble, and go off to be other things. And that's it for you. Still, you may rejoice that it happens at all. Generally speaking, in the universe, it doesn't, so far as we can tell. This is decidedly odd because the atoms that so liberally and congenially flock together to form living things on Earth are exactly the same atoms that decline it to do it elsewhere. Whatever else it may be at the level of chemistry, life is curiously mundane. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, a little calcium, a dash of sulfur, light dusting of other very ordinary elements, nothing you wouldn't find in an ordinary drugstore, and that's all you need. The only thing special about the atoms that make you is that they make you. That is, of course, the miracle of life. I have not, in my extensive readings, found a better description of the way our story begins in this world. And the thing that I love most about it is it touches every one of us here in so many ways that you can't possibly imagine. And it is also 14 billion years old, give or take a couple billion. So we find ourselves in this place, and that's the commonality. And that is the beginning of your story. That is the beginning of my story. And it is broad and deep and billions of years old. It is a story that ought not be neglected, and a story that holds deep knowledge and, I believe, deep truth. It is here, it seems, that the heat and light that is the miracle of life falls on us. It is in this moment that we could wrap our heart around that truth. I think to take the light of that knowledge unencumbered by religious myth and hold it to our hearts, allowing the light to give warmth and purpose and show others how they too can be bathed in the miracle of life, the miracle of you, the miracle of me. We live in a world that's not quite sure who we are, what we are, why we are. And I find in these words and insights like this a grounding for myself. I would like to hope that it also is a grounding for you too. The miracle of life. Why? Because one of the key values is the truth of the interconnectedness of all things. And if this does not connect all things, nothing does. And I believe that's the beginning point of our story and how we would tell ourselves that story. And so as you leave here later on today, be certain that you're leaving those matters that are billions of years old. And the fact that we'll be together again is amazing. It runs contrary to religious sects that separate and dissolve humanity from itself. This truth unites humanity together in itself in a permanent way. Much to my surprise, Bryson goes on to talk a little bit about that. I'm suspicious that he might be a Unitarian that kind of hides himself in the literary world. But he goes on in that book to write that every atom you possess has certainly passed through several stars, been a part of millions of organisms on its way to becoming you. We are each so anatomically numerous and so vigorously recycled at death, is a thought, that a significant number of our atoms, up to 1 billion for each of us, it has been suggested, probably once belonged to Shakespeare, probably once belonged to Beethoven, probably once belonged to the Buddha and to Genghis Khan, and maybe even a dinosaur or two along the way. So one of the things I'd like for you to do, either in this very moment or later, is to turn to the person beside you and greet them. Mr. Shakespeare, it's good to see you again. And to the Buddha, I love seeing you now. And that's the way that we weave ourselves together, with fact, and with science, and with truth, and with miracle. It's one of the things that I find in the face of science like this, is it does not move me away from the miraculous. It makes me find myself standing knee-deep in the miraculous. And this thing called life, and how we got here, and where its meaning is, and where we would go. And so we are all reincarnations, he writes. Those short-lived ones, when we die, our atoms will be disassembled and move off to find new uses elsewhere as a part of a leaf, or another human being, or a drop of dew. We are interconnected with all things in ways beyond our wildest imagination. But if the story only goes this far, then if we're not careful, we may only become a kindly group of Unitarians navel-gazing. I do not disparage inner work. I do not disparage looking inside oneself, myself, to find out how it is I might be able to become a better human being. But at the same time, we have to eventually look up from that story, look up from that place. We must all sometime look up, or we become stagnant. But the better work comes from soon raising your eyes to another goal. Maya Angelou writes, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you." As I was preparing for this message, I came across this story, and it struck deeply home to me. It goes this way. There was once a powerful and beautiful tiger. One day she was captured by a mean and cruel man who put her into a cage. The man kept the cage in the jungle not far from his house, and every day he would bring out a bowl of water and some food for the lonely tiger. And sometimes the tiger would see her reflection in the bowl of water and say, "My, I must be a beautiful tiger." When the man heard her say this, he would lie and tell her, No, you are not beautiful. You are very ugly and a pitiful creature. Sadly, after day after day after day, the tiger would come to believe the man. Some days after she ate her food, she would walk back and forth in her small cage, feel her power, and feel that power moving through her body, and she would say, I must be a powerful tiger. And when the man heard her say this, he would lie to her and tell her, no, you are weak and puny. You are a pitiful creature. And sadly, the tiger would again believe the man. And then one day, when the man was nowhere around, a lion walked up and walked by the cage. And the lion saw the tiger inside and spoke to her and said, beautiful, powerful tiger, what are you doing inside that cage? And the tiger said, don't make fun of me. I know that I'm neither beautiful nor powerful. I'm not making fun of you, said the lion. You are surely the most beautiful and powerful tiger I have ever seen in my life. I'm only surprised to see you lying there when you're clearly strong enough to break out of your cage. The tiger asked, do you really think I could break out of here? Quite easily, I should think, replied the lion. The tiger was not so sure at first. She had been told so many times that she was a weak and pitiful creature. But suddenly it seemed that she could feel energy, strength, moving through her body, and she began to pace back and forth in her cage, and then almost without thought, she leaped against the cage door, and it flew open without resistance. And once outside, she seemed dazed. That cage didn't even have a lock on it. I spent so much of my life stuck in there, and the door wasn't even locked. The lion looked at her with soft brown eyes and said, those kinds of traps don't need locks. For it is the lies that we believe that keep us in our cages, and it is the truth that sets us free. You need to know from me, I cannot speak for anybody else, I can only tell you my story. What you need to know for me, 75% of my life was spent in that cage. I one very much like it. And sometimes those years of self-imposed captivity feels to me like a waste of perfectly good stardust. But when the voices of this place grew quietly louder, overriding the voices in my head, I too threw my own self against the cage door and found myself standing in front of you. And that's how I got to this place, and that's a key part of my story. I cannot tell you your story if I am unwilling to tell you my own. For years, I have suggested that when I speak here, I'm doing therapy on myself, and that's true. You all get a chance to listen in, and I hope that that is evident today. Again, Maya Angelou said, there's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. A story of loss, a story of haplessness, helplessness, hopelessness, failure, mental health, physical health, emotional struggles. And if there's an untold story in you, you should know that there are lions present here today. And they're more than willing to offer you a new truth. That you are indeed beautiful and powerful, complete and whole. That's the truth. That you are the culmination of some 14 billion years of staggering work that brings you to this place alive with that miracle. And they hold the door, those lions here will hold the door of your cage, and you will be welcome, perhaps, as you set yourself free. And start to tell your own story, start to own your own story, start to own the ending of your story. It's no surprise to me in the way the universe works that this is Martin Luther King weekend. And I found myself at the service on Thursday, the handful of us here, considering some of the lives and some of the great quotes of Martin Luther King. And you should also know that as we gather there, the name of Emmanuel Holland, who was one of the long-standing ministers, is retired and since passed on. His name was very much mentioned as a part of the organizational skills that began to hold high Martin Luther King weekend. And as I was thinking about that and thinking about a portion of my own story, I want to share with you a quote from Kenneth Collier's book, The Great Wound, Confessions of a Slaveholding Family. In the introduction to the book, he writes, many people across the United States have grown up appreciating family history and treasuring their cultural heritage. Mr. Collier gained a different perspective on his family's legacy. His family was one of many slave-holding families during the antebellum period. Where others could proudly point to their cherished ancestor, Collier had to confront the fact that many of his own predecessors believed and furthered the vile institution of slavery. Collier argues that this great moral injury has harmed not only slavery's many victims, but the cultural fabric of America. The first step in healing this great wound, he writes, is simply acknowledging its existence. It has been festering in the heart of our nation for centuries, and Collier writes that he hopes that you will join him in stopping him from it spreading any further. Several years ago, at this particular gathering during Martin Luther King, I was asked to speak there. And as I found myself standing before them, it occurred to me, and I had to speak to the fact that there was in some small way a portion of Martin Luther King's dream that was realized in me in front of the AME church. And I was able to say to them that that dream has been accomplished in some small way. That I too am one of the sons of former slave owners that is hungry to sit down with the sons of former slaves at the table of brotherhood. And Martin Luther spoke on that day that he said, I have that dream, that one day in the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners would be able to sit down together at the brotherhood, at the table of brotherhood. And indeed, that was me that day, and I owned it, not with pride, but with an understanding of my place in that great circle. And as I spoke at that AME congregation, afterwards, one of the black pastors came up to me and said, no one has ever told us that. I hope that it sticks, and I hope that it makes a difference, because that's my story. That's a part of my story that brings, I think, healing to me, and perhaps to a handful of others. Because after that place, we find that that story had healings in it. Telling your story may be the first step to your healing. And telling your story may be the first hope of the listener. And that's why story is so vital, critical, and important in our lives. That we know it, that we hold it, that we own it, and that it does not own us. That we find our own ending. So in closing, congratulations. I'm delighted you could make it. Getting here wasn't easy, was it? Far harder than you ever imagined, but the miracle of life, your life, my life, has gotten this far. So be amazed, be breathless, and be you. Amen and amen. Thank you for your attention.
My turn. You should say what's Sarah up here.
Hi, everybody, it's me again. I was hoping that Sarah
She's coming.
and her little baby could join us today. And David says she's on her way. Her baby's name is Abby. I think Abby was having a little bit of discomfort, so had to leave the room for a moment. Yeah. Here they come. Hi. Hi, Abby. Hi, baby. She's got her mouth guard in. This could be a little rough.
If you want to make noise, I can take it out.
Oh, great.
Come on, Lauren.
We have the younger people here today, too. I'm going to sing a song. It's called Little One. And it's dedicated to our newest member, Abby, daughter of Sarah. It's also a list of hopes that I have for all babies of all colors and in all circumstances all over the world. So let's see how it works here. Welcome, tiny little one, born to us this day. You are the most remarkable miracle ever made. You are music, little one, a brand new song. You are worthy, you are strong, and you are loved. You are free. You always do your best with dignity. You are brave despite your fears. Fair and open-minded as you pass through the years. Yeah, Abby. You have compassion, little one, love and wonder too. In this web of all existence, waiting just for you. You are precious, little one. Your heart is true. You stand for peace and justice in everything you do, and you are loved. You are free. You always do your best with dignity, and you are brave. You are free, fair and open-minded as you pass through the years. She's listening to me. You share your passions, little one, your joy, your heartbreak too. Your kindness never wavers, never, with all that you go through. Yellow, red, black, or brown, people matter to you. And when the long time sun goes down, you'll sleep the whole night through. We hope. And you are loved. You are free. You always do your best with dignity. Yeah. And you are brave despite your fears. fair and open-minded as you pass through the years. And when the long time sun goes down, you'll sleep the whole night through. Thank you.
Hey, Mike. The kids made it a little hard for you. There.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Thank you, Mike. And that was terrific. That was terrific.
We had a reading, Rosemary.
Okay.
Okay. Book.
Sending sunshine and flowers to you. We hope you feel better very soon. Love, Reagan.
I feel pretty good. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. And happy birthday. Happy birthday again. So that closes it up almost. I did get the names. Charlie was the one who heard all of the 6 names. I want to welcome Tom, Joanne, Jim, Karen, Dan, and Betty. So please join us after. And again, thank you so much for that beautiful song. And Charlie, thank you for the lion story. May we all have a lion in our lives, or may we all be a lion in the lives of others. It was just a beautiful story, and I can't wait for the talk back. So let's join in, all of you New Yorkers, stick around.
My best sermon ever, period. Thank you.
So welcome, Charlie. Inspired by you and everybody here.
Indeed.
Yes.
Every time you tell your story, and when someone else who cares bears witness to it, you turn off those stressors in your body. You flip off the toxic stress hormones like cortisol, epinephrine, flipping away, relaxation, flipping on relaxation. Responses that release healing hormones. It also relaxes who you are and begins to heal your mind of depression, anxiety, fear, anger, and feelings of disconnection when you tell your story and when somebody else listens. Thank you.
Please join me as we extinguish this flame.
Stand if you would.
And stand in the order of service. While we extinguish this flame, we will still carry in our hearts the lives that serve the warmth of community and the fire of commitment until we all rise together again.
you.